Sarah Henderson. Sarah, thanks for your time. I want to start with the BBC. Senior officials there, the head of news, the Director General, stepping down off the back of the doctored documentary scandal. There have been claims in Australia by Heston Russell, the former commando. He believes there needs to be accountability at the ABC after the doctored documentary at the ABC. Shouldn't the similar standards be applied to the ABC as they are at the BBC?
Kieran, good afternoon, and I do agree with that. There are much higher standards of accountability at the BBC, including full transparency in relation to what senior executives are paid and what gifts they received. I prosecuted that case very strongly a number of years ago, but was rebuffed, of course, by Labor and the Greens, who do not want to see stronger accountability at the ABC. The doctoring of the vision in relation to Heston Russell and the false claims essentially that he was a war criminal were an absolute disgrace. He, of course, won his defamation case against the ABC, but no heads rolled, Kieran, and I do believe heads should have rolled. That was a shocking error by the ABC. It did look in part deliberate, frankly, because they didn't act quickly when they knew the facts were wrong, as they should have acted.
So you don't believe there was accountability?
I think that there needs to be a complete I don't believe that people were held to account after that terrible, shocking mistake was made at the ABC, and that's why I'm a strong advocate for a rewrite of the ABC Act to hold the ABC to account, because I don't think the current legislation governing the ABC is fit for purpose.
Shouldn't they be held to the same standard as the BBC? Isn't that fair?
Oh, I absolutely, I do think it's fair. And I cannot believe that, for instance, the head of news and current affairs is still in the job that he is in after what happened with Heston Russell, and there's been some other very egregious errors as well. Now, the ABC also does some very good work, and I don't step away from that. I am a strong supporter of the ABC, Kieran, but when they make such egregious errors, they do need to be held to account, like what we have seen with the BBC.
Yep, indeed. I think that accountability is fair. Now, speaking of accountability, you're copping it today from the Liberal Senator Maria Kovacic. She says that it's a misjudgment that you went too hard against Susan Lee. What do you say in response?
Look, I'm not going to add to my comments other than to reiterate that from the backbench we can agree to disagree, so there's nothing undisciplined about that. But my focus is strongly on what we need to do, Kieran, to fight for the Australian people. That's my focus. I mean, net zero is a disaster, and anyone who's prosecuting the net zero case now, when we know that it's taking our country backwards, we know these policies and laws of Labor's are an utter disaster for our nation, then I don't think that's particularly responsible, particularly when we're about to make some very important decisions on Wednesday. Of course, Shadow Cabinet will consider this on Thursday, and then the Joint Party Room on Sunday. So this is a very important week for the Liberal Party to get its house in order and to demonstrate that we are really fighting for Australians. This is an economic and environmental disaster.
Was it
These policies
undisciplined, though, from you,
bills by,
as your colleague said?
Look, I'm not as I say, one of the really big hallmarks with Liberal Party backbenchers is that we are entitled to speak our mind, and we are entitled to prosecute policies as we see, and they don't always accord with formal Liberal Party policy. But in this case, we're still working through our net zero policy. So I reject those criticisms. Okay. But again, that I would say this week, all of us need to work very hard to get our policy house in order. And I do commend Susan for bringing us all together on Wednesday to thrash this out. And I'm really hoping, Kieran, that we reject net zero in its entirety, because it's not fit for purpose for a country such as ours. It might work in Europe, it might work in the UK, in France, where there are very high levels of nuclear power. But now in our country, where we are a resource-rich country, we are blessed with so much coal and gas and uranium and critical minerals. We cannot turn our back on these resources, and of course these are the resources which have made us such a strong and prosperous nation over so many decades.